When do men seek for help? What is this help that we are talking of? Hello?
Yes, we can hear Fandy.
Okay, good. I am asking ourselves in this house right now tonight that when I saw the request for me to share on this topic, then I was asking myself, do they mean am I made of metal? Do they mean that it's a topic? You mean it's a topical issue that men should seek for help? So it caught up my mind and I prayed and looked for what to share. And it led me into Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, where my name comes from. My father and mother called me Aheebwa, which in my language means to be given. And to be given, you have to ask. And to ask, it shows that you need help. So when I read closely that chapter 7, verse 7, I saw that in order to get, you ask. In order for the door to be opened, you knock. In order for you to find, you seek. And you identify that you need help, that's when you ask. When you identify that really you need the door to be opened, then you knock. So it is normal for one man to ask for help. God created us as to be in need for help. God created us with that need for help. And to relate this closely with the creation story, Adam was created with this particular need for help from another person. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 tells us that God said that it is not good for man to live alone. Therefore, you will create him a helper, mark that word, helper, suitable for him. So if God saw that by our very nature, we need help, then when we go back to the topic of today, it is very clear that men should seek help because it is actually in God's plan by design that we need help. When we need help and we ask for it, it is not a point of weakness. It is not a sign of failure. It is actually an acknowledgement that I am designed by God to fulfill his purpose for me, to live with others. It is showing that I am vulnerable, and in my weakness, God's strength, God's power is manifested. So I am giving this background because we are not our own creators. As men, we are created by God, and it is our reference when we are looking for answers about life. So to this question, as to whether men should seek for help, the question is when. It is not why, it is not whether, it is not how, but it is when should men seek for help. And I think there must be circumstances which surround our lives on a daily basis, which call for us to seek for this help. These are the circumstances which answer the when. When in terms of context, when in terms of scope in terms of time, scope in terms of space. The when really is what we concern ourselves now that we have seen that it is not why, because God has already said we need help. So when do we need help? This is a very good area for us to continue sharing, even if it goes beyond tonight. It is an area that is interesting that we should study periodically so that we know when to ask for help. And we ask for help, the sources of help to us men, I think are mainly two. We seek for help from God, but we can also seek for help from people. So these sources, two sources, exemplified in many people's lives in our history and in our current life today. In our own situations, every one of us knows when they have really reached out for help and when they have faced challenges and obstacles that hinder us, in most cases, to seek for help as men. You remember in Moses, the great leader of the Israelites, needed help during war. He asked for help because whenever he could keep his hands up, then the Israelites would win. But whenever he could become tired and his arms went down, then the Amalekites would win until they got a stone. He sat on the stone. Joshua and Har could help his hands to remain up, and then the war, the Israelites would win. Joshua would win. Therefore, even when you are in a position of responsibility, you need help from God, but also help from men, fellow men around you, to support you in that overall mission which God gives to us as men in different responsibilities, in leadership at the workplace, in leadership at home, as a husband, as a father, even as men who do not have families. They are those responsibilities you may have, and we need help. We do not know it all. We cannot do it all by ourselves. We need help from God and from our other people around us. That's a source from God, source of help from God, but also there are many sources that fellow people, human beings, can give to us. I'm giving it a contextual framework so that we can come to the reality of our day-to-day lives, and then we see how we go through when circumstances come to us and we need help. I will give my own examples later on. In form of man to man, we need help from our spouses. We get help from our children. We get help from friends. We seek help from other wider family members. We can get support and help from professionals. And these professionals, I mean, like from counselors. We can seek help from experts to give us their opinions in technical areas. We seek help from our religious leaders for spiritual guidance. We need help from healthcare providers like medics, health nurses, doctors, and many others. People help us, people support us, depending on the need that we have from one person to the other. As men, you realize with the scripture I read in the beginning from Genesis really points out the need, a suitable helper, a wife. There is something about the women. I understand some ladies are on this forum listening. They can later substantiate that gut feeling, that sense number 6, that second silent opinion, which they give in most cases, and I think sometimes we tend to ignore, sometimes gives us the support that we need. That call for details that we sometimes do not see as we focus on bigger structural goals our wives can help us to fine tune the goals that we are pushing. The support that we can also get from our children can be emotional support. It can be advice. It can be moral support. It can be physical, even physical help. We as men, much as we are created with the physics, bodies which are strong in terms of muscles and makeup, we need the physical strength sometimes to give us a hand. And as men, we should also know that the body cannot operate alone. We need psychological support. We need spiritual support, definitely. Another form of help can be financial help, financial support, technical support, etc. And all these sources, forms of support, forms of help, we get them from these categories I'm mentioning, from our children, from friends, from family, from experts, from the church organizations, church arrangements like fellowships. If you are a man and you are married and you do not attend any marriage fellowship, I really sometimes wonder how you managed to move around the corners that happen to be in the journey of marriage. When we share as men to men in a marriage fellowship setup, when you encounter what other people go through, then you say, oh, I thought I was alone going through this. So I think when you go in those areas that offer a network of support, you get helped. Therefore, it is not a sign of weakness, because God knew that we need one another as a body of Christ. No one has it all. These ones are talented in speech, others are talented in money matters, others are good at parenting, better than others. But when we come together, we learn from one another. That is the power of fellowship. That is the power of coming together like this forum where we are sharing weekly. The amount of support we get from one another is immense. So in case you are to seek help, keep in mind that we are not indeed made out of metal. Metal, yes, is a non-living thing. Metal comes out of iron, maybe any other ore, and when it is refined, it becomes metal. But it is known for many other things, but not being sensitive. So it is something that can conduct heat, a good conductor of heat, but and electricity maybe, but we are not like metals. Therefore, I would like to discount the question that are men made out of metal. I think God did not create us as metals. We are human. We have emotions. We have feelings. We have weaknesses. We have points where we need support from others. Therefore, let us not give in to the temptations of dying, as they say, star tougher. The star does not die in a movie. No, you will die in your own movie if you keep away from help. If you need help, seek help, but know when to seek help, as I'm going to share. And when you seek for help and you get it, then you can imagine how the stress you bottle up. But when you get support, get help, somebody speaks to you and they share how they went through it, you feel relief. You feel relieved, and that gives you emotional health. You are no longer irritable. You do not withdraw. People see you as a Bin Laden at home. At the workplace, you are a wounded lion. Kumbe, the issues are inside you. But when you get such help, you get emotional health, even which leads to our mental health and finally to physical health. So you can see there is a book that I read, which is titled, if you get time, you can find it out, Temptations Men Face. Temptations Men Face. This book mentions some of the temptations that we as men face, temptations for greed, temptations to be greedy, temptations for power, temptations for sexual immorality, temptations to be macho. That one is the one which I'm emphasizing here. Temptations to be macho rides on the, I think, on the traditional, contextual, historical narrative that men do not cry. Men do not show their affection in public. Men do not cry, do not weep in public. I think in some instances, it is not in tandem with the reality that we go through. If you realize, for example, you lose a person, the more you take in the reality, the more you hear. If you lose a job and you keep quiet and no one knows, the bigger the burden that you carry. And it is common for us men. And these are some of the examples which happen that explain when we need help. We need to seek for help. If you are in a marriage as a man and the marriage is not moving on well, if you watch closely, women share. Women go in mothers' union and they talk details. When you are in church, the after church gatherings, we are mainly woman on woman. Men, when we are talking on top surface things, women can share in 5 minutes. They are sharing deep stuff. It is a strength. It is a strength emotionally to share deeply with a trusted, underline a trusted brother. If somebody shares with you and they are confident that you are not going to spread it over, then they will heal. That trust and confidence will contribute to their healing. But brothers, it is common to find members in church gossiping out what the other brothers have confided them in. I am not speaking cases of outside Uganda, but I have seen them happen around me. I'm not surprised because we are human. We have that weakness. But as Christians, we are called to bear one another's burden. Bearing one another's burden really does not include putting it on the notes board for other people to read. Bearing one another's burden, that confidentiality, that integrity of knowing that, I think it's the Americans who call it, you have my back, that I can trust you with my word, that, for example, I have been having penile dysfunctioning. I have not been able to erect for the last 3 months. My wife is going through depression. Those deep things, if you share it with somebody and then you hear it outside there, that is not Christ-like. And unfortunately, we normally see people complaining that I would rather keep quiet, or I even share with non-believers. So I think as Christians, as men, let us learn to keep the word of our colleagues when they open up to us, because that will encourage them to share, even to give advice to others. So we are seeing when we need help, these are the circumstances, and it is indeed a must, because seeking for help is not out of order. If you look, for example, in the church, the mosque, even I think the DC, can they wed you if you go without a best man? I think we have reverends on this forum, they will guide, but I think they may not wait you if you go without a testament. Why? Because the setup knows that you will need help, and help from a close person as a best man in your journey of marriage. If you are seeking for employment or you are looking for a loan in the bank and you do not indicate the next of kin, I don't think you will qualify for this loan or even for this job. Why? Because the establishment believes in each person having a confidant, that person whom they know can say, I have a loan and it is in my neck, as people say, direct translation. Murago. It is that person who is closer to you. So it is already showing that the life around us expects us to have people to share with, therefore to seek for help. It is not a sign of failure. It is an acknowledgement that we are created to complement one another. Therefore, seeking for help is in order when need arises. There is a common saying that a problem shared is a problem half solved. But I think, as I have already shared, this calls for us to be reliable partners with our friends, with honesty, with that brotherhood, with integrity of confidentiality, knowing that this is something noble, let me keep it. And I think Proverbs, King Solomon has it very well about people who spread gossip, who spread other people's secrets. In Proverbs 20, chapter 20, verse 19, calling us upon us that we shouldn't gossip. And there are consequences. It is not something that we should be proud of. When do we need to seek for help? Also, in times of vulnerability. Vulnerability, yes, can go to extremes sometimes, but you need to know that we all have points when we are low. We have points when financially you do not have money, and your family members may not know, but there is this man or brother whom you can reach and say, this minute that I'm using to call you is the last one I have on my phone, and we don't have food in the house. I believe it is hard for us men to share like this in a fellowship openly, but you can reach out to an individual. I have seen it personally when I am struggling with something in our family setup or as a married as a couple, and I find my wife finding it easy to say, "Can we share with so and so?" Me, I have to analyze how about this. What if his children know? What if his circles know of this? What if? So you find you are bringing in many excuses, and I realize it is not as easy for us men to open up when we have trouble and problems like women do. So it is good to know the extent of vulnerability, but also when you take it an extreme, I'm not being chauvinistic, but there are men who overcry. I am not judging them, but I have an example. There is a place where I was staying, and I think I was married for about a year. Then my neighbor was also married, and a rat invaded their house at night. We didn't have power. Road shedding was common those years, not like today. A rat kept on gnawing. I think it was biting on something in the sideboard. These people called us. When they called us, they told us, thieves are cutting the iron bars of the window, and they want to enter and rob us. And you know, a rat, when it hears somebody talking, it stops biting, it stops gnawing. Then when you keep quiet, it resumes gnawing. Those of you who have ever lived in houses where rats live. So I think whenever he could hear kurr, 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 thieves are cutting the iron bars, the burglar proofs in order to enter. I moved out with a gun only to reach, and I touch, and a rat runs out of the sideboard, and the man was hiding under the bed. It was the wife making a phone call to us, and she was not as moved as a man. So much as we say we share our vulnerabilities, but I think as a leader in a home, now as a man, let's not take it extremes. Let's not cry at every slightest challenge that we face when you are calling your father, you are calling your mother, especially your mother. These are what we hear people calling them mommy's boys. There is what you can do, and there is where you say, "Let me admit some help," but having tried your effort as well. That is accepting reality and to know that not in all circumstances you really need to seek help. You seek help when you have at least made an attempt on your own. So when men are sick, we tend to hide and we prove to be strong until people see us dropping dead. It is normal and in order to have a fever and shake so that you can get help. It is normal and in order if you have a disorder to open it up, to open up to the health professionals so that you can get help. It is very, very normal for you to tell your spouse or your wife or your helper that here I need help. Otherwise, people may not predict what you need if they don't know. They cannot pray for you effectively if they don't know your spiritual need. So when you have that need, that is the perfect time to seek for help. Asking for help these days um, is almost now that we have technology. You can make a phone call, you can write a message, you can send a WhatsApp, you can send an audio, because physically some people think it may be like you are taking your burdens to others, you are pushing out your troubles to other people. But when the Bible says carry one another's burdens, God knows that we have burdens in this world and that we cannot carry them on our own. Therefore, I call upon fellow men that as we show this vulnerability, we also know that it is an expectation. It's an expectation for us to offer. If you ask for help from someone, then you are giving them an opportunity to serve God if they meet your need. Because we are created to support one another, if you deny telling another person your need, then you deny them a blessing. Because if they react to your need and respond positively by helping you, then God is glorified. Then they are blessed. So we should also know that by keeping quiet, by denying other people blessings, God is not pleased with us. When this topic again came on, I started thinking, why is it an issue? Why should it be, even at this time, that the world does not expect men to ask for help? I again felt it's high time we need to continue this conversation. It is, I think, okay to cry than to wait and break down. I have an example. When my mother died, I was serving in Somalia. 2009. I had spent there 3 months. I deployed in September, and she passed on towards December. So when I received the bad news that she had died, I remember I didn't even knock. I went to the office of my commander and the tears were rolling over my cheek. And I told him my mother is dead. So he said, okay, you go and you go. Then I went to my tent. I sat on the bed. I cried out loudly for about 3 hours. And that helped me because by the time I came to attend the burial, thanks to the best man who was waiting for me at the airport, this thing of best man, again, I opened up how I was feeling to him. So by the time I reached home, and again I found the fellowship, having helped and supported my family, it was very important for me to break down. Otherwise, I would have transferred that grief, and who knows, at one time it may make you break down at a later stage. So it is not being abnormal to let it go, to let it out, especially when you see you cannot bear it anymore. So this social cultural background, we should know that some of the tenets of our social cultural beliefs are really well placed in history. The circumstances of today really have changed. Men and women roles that they play, the way we respond to our needs has changed. It used to be that a man was the only provider, was a breadwinner, therefore a only defender. How could you see such a powerful figure cry or give in or giving up in need? But these days you may have a wife who earns much more money than you earn. Therefore, saying, Madam, I think I need 1 million to top up and do something is not a weakness. The circumstances have changed. You may have a wife who is an executive director, an ED, a CEO, when for you are still below the ladders of your career growth. You may have a wife who used to beat you in class academically, because now they have equal opportunities, not equal, but at least equitably distributed opportunities to show their worth that God gave them. So I think we need to move with the times in some situations, look at what used to happen. If it is still applicable, we apply it sensitively, because if we continue to believe that, yes, I'm a man, I can't give in, I can't say this, yet things have changed, it is to our disadvantage, and we will be the ones to break down those under our care. Therefore, as I'm about to finish, I would like to us to even look at our proverbs. Some of the proverbs in African languages used even to tell us that we need help. For example, when men used to gather to go for a function like receiving a bride, those who do not have nice clothes used to be told to go and borrow, so that the delegation does not look bad. The Banyankore have a proverb, and I think it happens in other dialects, that efra etatiza ehemurabo wabo. One of the guests on a delegation who does not borrow good clothes will make the whole delegation ashamed if that one person does not borrow nice clothes because he does not have them. So asking for help philosophically is something that is not a sign of weakness. Then when you look at the social security, traditional social security systems, we look at wedding contributions. People come up and give money for a wedding, which you do not have. They realize that you need help. And it's not that it's not that they are looking down upon you, but it is within the social security system that we need help. And when we seek for it, we move forward. Contributions, fundraisings, for people who need health support. All those are signs that show that we need help from others. When you are in need, a need that you cannot meet on your own, even if you can meet it, it gives people a meaningful life around you to know that they contributed to support you. People offer coaching. People have businesses as coaches, life coaches, in speech, in presidents, for example. Heads of state have fully paid speech writers, those who take them to rehearse on how to speak to the public. So that means even if you are higher up, there is a help that you need, and please don't be ashamed of seeking this help in order to perform ably. You need it to make you work well. The research that we do, it is getting what other people have already put down. When other people research and write and publish, and we go and infer and quote, we are seeking help indirectly from what other people have gathered. So it is all around us. The old people used to work together in gardens. The old people used to contribute to work to build houses together. As parents, if you have a challenge with raising teenagers, don't die alone. There are parents who have gone through raising teenagers. They have seen it. It's not a weakness. You have not failed to raise your children, but you can seek guidance on how others have done it before. So, and as men, we are still expected to be leaders at the family level, and as husbands and as fathers, we cannot have it all. Therefore, it is very wise, it is godly for us to seek help in those circumstances that I have shared and others that I may not have shared when specific need comes to you. I request to stop here. I may have gone overboard in terms of time, but this is what I felt I should share for now to encourage the conversation to continue. I thank you very much, and God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Afande. You know the story of the rat. I loved it so much. I was really looking at Afande chasing the rat with the gun while the other man is under the bed, sweating and shivering. It was a very interesting one. Thank you so much for the sharing. It was very informative. And I'm sure we have learned a lot, all of us who are here. Some of the key things that I've gotten from this sharing is that as God saw it very necessary to help man, find him a helper, I think even as it's not a crime, it's godly that we should have helpers, because God is the one who thought we were inadequate, and therefore he made a helper for the man. So it's normal and it's spiritual and biblical for you to find help where there's need, because that means that we are weak by nature. And also you said above all, we need help from God. We need physical strength, psychological support, financial support, etc. from different people that you mentioned, especially those that could be close to us. We also encourage men to be part of the fellowships, which is very important. Actually, even me, fellowships have helped me a lot. I've learned a lot from different fellowships because when people share their testimonies, at some point you feel like you're better than what you thought. Because sometimes you can feel like you're the only one who's suffering in the whole world. They require me. But when people share their personal testimonies, then you get more encouraged and you feel like, yes, I think I am better off and I can still live another day. And of course, you mentioned that mental is a non-living thing, so we are not mental. For us who are living things, we should not fear anything because we are emotional, we have feelings. And so we should not fear to seek help as men. So we should not even die in our own movies. Those are some of the things that I feel are so much important that I will not even, take home. seeking help is not out of order. So there are some few questions that came out in the inbox, which I will read. And I will encourage members to feel free to ask questions. Please feel free to send your questions in the chat box so that your questions can be catered for. And I also want us to put our hands together, or our hands together, and we once again clap for our Pande. You can use flowers, you can use anything you feel like can be appreciating a fund. So there's some few questions here. This one is saying men are expected to show strength so that the family members feel confident. How do you balance showing I am in control, that is in quotes, I am in control, with asking for help, which really comes with vulnerability or failure? When you feel like people know you as someone who is very in control, when you're in control, and now you're asking for help, that means you're seen as someone who's vulnerable and failure. Actually, I think I can even read this one with what you are sharing. That man, imagine if he had not sought for help and he was to die under the bed, thinking that the thief has come to finish them. So how can we help such a people with that mindset? For some of the things that you have talked about, but there are those who are very vulnerable, and I think that will come in your parting shots, but at some of the things I've already talked about them. Then another question is, are there things men should not tell their wives and children but can share with other men? What could those be? Or would it be like not completely clear? And let me repeat the question. Are there things men should not tell their wives and children but can share with other men? What could those be? Or would it be like not completely living? Then I would to read two more questions and you can answer them as I read more questions. Men feel they become less of a man, less of a man is also in quotes, when seen helping their wives. How can wives help their husbands come out of such fear for public opinion? How can wives help their husbands come out of such a fear for public opinion? Then how do you advise someone or a lady with a man who they see needs help in one way or the other, but the man can't open up to share the issue with especially with his wife? For example, you see the man's mood, behavior changed. And when you ask what could be wrong, they just say they are okay and sure there's no problem. Yet you can even tell from the way they treat. Yeah, those are some of the questions that have just come in the inbox. I think we can first handle those ones as I read more in the chat box. Over to your Pande. Dear Kano, I think you're muted. Yes. Can we ask me those questions?
Hello, moderator.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I think I had a technological issue, but I had that last question, where you said somebody is visibly showing signs that there is a problem, they need help, but they are not admitting that they need help. Yeah, it is common, and especially men, when you are fighting with something deep in your heart, it happens. One, you don't think you need to bother others. Actually, you think you are helping others from not getting entangled with what you are dealing with, but they are seeing that you are struggling. And when they ask you, I think that would be an opening opportunity for you to, even if you listen and keep quiet, then you think about it. But that person who is seeing you that you need help should not give up. To me, the way they ask you also matters. If, for example, it is your wife asking you that, is there a problem? I think the tone, the approach, they are asking you, the attitude will lead you to opening up or not. You can also seek his best friend to approach him, but there trouble will come. How dare you go to tell other people that I have a problem? So I think the first thing You pray for them. Then as you are praying for them, you get a way of reaching out to them. Me, I know if it happens that I have not opened up and my wife sends me a text message explaining how I think today I was not feeling normal, I read it and I read it, then it touches me. Before you know it, I'm in a conversation that leads her to know what I'm dealing with. So we have several methods that can enable us to reach the heart of the matter, but also time. If you give it time and you keep observing, it could be just a symptom of something bigger. That would be a presentation. How has been your communication? For example, if it has been not healthy, then you cannot jump up one day and say, I think you have a problem, you need help. Then when the other person still has piles and piles of unanswered issues. So I think you need to dig deeper and explore if there are other issues which have been overcrowding the person. Then you know how to disentangle your person from them, and with time they start sharing and opening up, or even the need for help will just get sorted like that. The other ones which I think I missed, I request if there is any other person who can give the opinion on those questions that I didn't hear. We
I
are
can
here
pick,
for
I
conversation.
can pick,
Thank you.
I can pick two of them for the sake of time. This one is saying how can we encourage men in forces to seek medical help? How can we encourage men in forces to seek medical help? And then another one was about let me see, because from your answers you've tackled one, and then so was saying, are there things men should not tell their wives and children but can share with other men? What could those be? Or would it be like not completely grieving? I find you can attempt.
Okay. Well, men are not identical biological entities. Yes, we are men, but we are different. We are men, we have personalities which are different. We are men, but we have our own unique uh, environmental factors that contribute to our being who we are. So I think it differs from one man to another when it comes to what do you tell your wife and you do not tell, that you don't tell your wife and but you tell to other men. I think it goes to the motive. If a motive is good, because God reads the heart. If, for example, you are making a will and you know the will, you can tell it to your best friend. You can even seek help on how to make some matters in a will which you may think may cause insecurity, or if your wife knew about it. In any case, it's a will. The person is not supposed to know it before you die. But I think there are some peculiarities which lead you not to share with your wife and children, but you tell another man whom you trust. The motive, again, to me, I think is what matters. If you have a friend, for example, and if a fellow man, he comes and tells you, I am confiding in you, I am telling you this, I need your help. I am planning to divorce my wife. I am planning to kill my wife. Or I'm planning to sell the other land that my wife does not know. Yes, he has not told his wife and children, but I think their confidentiality will not apply. So rationality calls for, is it noble? Is it pleasing to God? Is it constructive? Is it building the body of Christ? There you may advise him and watch if his family knows, because if it is something potentially dangerous, then you don't need to keep quiet and I say, hey, actually I knew. It will not be helpful at that stage. The last one I think was men in forces. How can we encourage men in forces to seek for help? First of all, the forces are different institutions. We have the police force, the prison services, and then the army, the UPDF. for the sake of my explanation, I'm going to talk about the UPDF because I may not be competent to speak very well about other forces. In the UPDF, we have established systems that encourage all personnel, not only men, to seek for medical help. Actually, as much as elaborate to the extent that the personnel officer will most likely be knowing almost all your medical confidential details, because to deploy you, they must know your health status. To give you further training, they must know to what extent are you capable of continuing with career progression. If you have something chronic, if you are healthy, if you are potentially still in service. So the system in the army is very elaborate and transparent, but with the principle of the need to know. The principle of the need to know means that those who must know are the only ones who need to know. That means confidentiality within limits. And we also have systems for counseling, for psychosocial support. There is a whole department for psychosocial support to cater for our psychosocial needs and especially mental health needs. Mental health needs, then counseling needs, because you may be deployed away from your family and you hear disturbing news from your family, and the way of handling it is you go to the department and we have counselors on phone and counselors physically. So if you are deployed, let's say in Mogadishu, the lines are open. You call and you get that counseling support. Until you need one physical, we have also deployed them in the field. Those who need medical help that requires financial support, the army provides medical services at the cost of government. So those who hide, it's a case. For example, HIV/AIDS. We still had cases of stigma in the past, but I think in the army now we have fought stigma more. We talk about it openly. Those who take ARVs speak about it openly, that I need to go and pick my airtime. And you see that positive energy helps you to live longer and to contribute to the well-being of the force and nation building. So I think we continue to encourage them, but the wider public needs to learn that for us, we work. First of all, the army is a unitary institution. You can never shine alone. You can never work alone. So it is all about complementarity. More of what we hear of in the Bible saying the body of Christ, the army works as a body. The nose does its part, the legs its part, and no one is weaker or stronger than the other. I think let me allow others to make their contributions to the conversation. But thank you, Ndugu Dixon, moderator. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Apande. I think we will have one of us, Dr. Wilson, to give us closing remarks, and he will comment on some of the issues maybe. But in the meantime, I want to read some of the other comments that have come in the chat, just briefly. Well, first of all, I have like the term airtime for ARVs. I think those who fear to talk about what they are doing, and maybe they're looking for other ways of expressing themselves and don't have the good terms. Now, this you have learned that if you're taking ARVs and you don't know how to mention it, just say I'm going to get my airtime, and you'll be sorted out. But I think confession is better. So that you don't become like a rat and you think the thieves are on your door, it's just a rat in the cupboard. Someone said male chauvinism is killing men quietly. It takes courage. Our dear ladies, for the married, give husbands courage to seek help. Don't be part of the gospel on your husband. Another one commented and said, latest intelligence from public for sure that men gossip a lot in sauna and they need help also. So for men who gossip about their wives in the sauna, exposing their weaknesses. That is your wife. So why would you expose your wife's weakness? We have to also have a weakness. So just talk about things that you're not. I'm not help you seek help, but not gossiping and exposing her weaknesses. Yet you should, in her weaknesses, you should be her strength. Another one was appreciating and said, "Wow, thanks, Kano, deep wisdom. You have blessed us. I love it when we have men and women in uniform sold out for the gospel. God bless you." And then another one said that another said, "Also not finding this. I do the icon, but I salute you, Kano Nelson Aheebwa." That's Corporal Anita. She was looking for the way of saluting you with an icon, but she couldn't get one. But I'm sure she stood up and saluted you because the talk was very informative and blessed us. And then I want to appreciate Wycliffe. Wycliffe said that Martha is a Catholic. He has learned a lot from here. And I want to encourage Wycliffe Agaba that we always here. This is not for only Anglicans. Please always join us every Tuesday. We learn so many good things about men and women. Actually, this is a men's fellowship, but because of the good talks we always have, that's the reason why we always have us as in attendance, and they always comment freely. So it's more or less like any other fellowship or any other talk that we have to build and sharpen one another. So you're all always welcome, and you can bring other friends. Ladies and gentlemen are always welcome. So without wasting much more time, I'm going to welcome Dr. Vincent Chiberu to give us the closing remark, and then I will invite our dear Dr. Papa. If there's anything to say, can say it, but also give us a blessing, and we shall be able to end it from there. Thank you so much, Apande. I also salute you, and may God richly bless you so much. Over to you, my brother, Vincent Chiberu. I think we need to give him rights. Okay, then let me invite Digital Papa, take over. Digital Papa, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much. They are not here, but I am here.
Okay.
Friends, we want to thank the Lord so much who has enabled us to have this talk this evening. Thank you, Kano, for all you have told us. For indeed, you have done justice to that topic. We want to bless the name of the Lord. But I believe Uncle Bob has the good words to use, and thank you. Then after all, he will invite a Reverend Benjamin, who will give us a priestly blessing, and then we can have, we can call it an evening. Thank you so much. Uncle Bob, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.